Hello, good evening here from Jakarta. Welcome to European Higher Education Fair Indonesia 2020 goes online. This is Institution Webinar Series. My name is Lukman and I will be your moderator for today. This next session will have SLU Sweden, and please stay tuned until the end of this webinar because we will have a Q&A session. If you have any questions about the presentation or anything related to SLU Sweden, you can submit the questions in our YouTube's comment section anytime throughout the presentation. We have the representative for today, and yeah, Miss Ellen, the time is yours. You may start.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Elin Hellsten and I work as a communications officer at the Swedish University of Agriculture and Sciences. I'm really happy to be here today, even though I miss the opportunity of actually being there in Indonesia with you. But as this year things are as they are, we have to do it virtually. And as I said, I'm happy to get this opportunity. Let me show my screen with you. Here we go. Actually, we're going to do it like this, I think. There we go. I hope you can see this now. SLU is a university that we like to describe in 3 sentences. For the first, that we are a world-class international university, that we take on fundamental issues that affect all of us, and that we make the world a better place. And I can see my screen actually looks a little strange. I hope you see what I'm seeing now. We are the longest university in Sweden, and our principal sites are in Alnarp, Uppsala, and Umeå. And these 3 main campuses are all located in student towns. Campus Alnarp is in the south, about 30 minutes from the Swedish town Malmö and about 50 minutes from Copenhagen in Denmark. And this is where the Faculty of Landscape Architecture, Horticulture and Crop Production Sciences is located. Uppsala is our largest campus and where the university administration, including me, is located. Uppsala is known for its student life, and you will be able, of course, to take part of all of that when you're here. It's a lot of students here because we also have Uppsala University here, which means I think about 40% of the population of Uppsala actually are students. There are 2 faculties in Uppsala, Natural Resources and Agriculture Sciences, and also the Veterinary Medicine and Animal Science. And Uppsala is located about 40 minutes with train from Stockholm and about 20 minutes from Arlanda, our biggest international airport. And finally, we have Campus Umeå in the north. And Umeå is the biggest city in northern Sweden, and it's also a great hub with lots of students. And in Umeå, the Swedish winter looks like you probably imagine it. So this is a great place for skiing and outdoor life and those kinds of things. And that's where the SLU Faculty for Forest Sciences is located, for a faculty that is also partly presented at Campus Alnarp. Let's see. Just give me a minute, something looks strange here. Can I ask the moderator if you still see my screen?
We cannot see it yet. Can you try to share again, please?
That's really strange because I shared it. Let's try this again. I only showed 1 picture so far. This is the one. No?
Yes, this one is good.
Very good. So that's what I've been showing so far. We are a research-intense university. About 70% of the turnover goes to research and doctoral programs. And in international comparison, we rank very highly at SLU. Our scientists contribute to about 1,600 scientific articles per year, and our publications are among the most cited ones within our scientific fields. We are ranked number 1 in the world in forestry by the Center for World University Rankings, and QS World University Ranking ranks us as number 3 in the world in agriculture and forestry. We are also ranked as one of the world's top 300 universities and number 36 of the world's young universities, and number 1 among Sweden's young universities. And thinking about how young we are about 40 years old. We were founded in 1977, but we have a history that starts in 1775, when the first veterinary schools started in Sweden. And let me talk a little about what we do at SLU. SLU focus on issues that are fundamental to us as human beings and concern every living thing on Earth. And I'm going to give you a few examples of what we actually do. We work with sustainable food supply, like adapting to climate change, producing new food, more environmental and climate-friendly food production, urban cultivation, digitalized cultivation, food waste, health issues, consumer issues, business administration, and so on. We work with clean water and oceans. For example, environmental toxins, land-based fish farming, well-being of fish stocks in water, drinking water, and of course problems with drought and flooding. We work with sustainable urban and rural areas. For example, green roofs, urban cultivation, geographical information systems, adapting buildings to cope with extreme weather, like rising sea levels. We work with biomaterials and bioenergy, materials and energy that can be used to replace fossil-based fuel and products such as starch or cellulose instead of plastics, and using bioenergy as a fuel. We work with animal and human welfare. For example, antibiotic resistance and zoonoses, meaning infectious diseases between animals and humans. Food and health, green spaces in cities, outdoor life, animal welfare, the importance of companionship between animals and humans. And we work with biodiversity, like predator issues, elk management, invasive plants and animals, mapping of species and endangered species. So on. And this, we make the world a better place. We like to believe we do. Our knowledge creates the right conditions for a sustainable, thriving, and better world. That's kind of the SLU slogan. And SLU is contributing to the achievement of the Global Sustainable Development Goals, both in Sweden and internationally. And I'm going to mention some of the areas that are important to us once again, because it's so central to what SLU is doing. We have climate change, that agriculture and forestry must both be adapted to and contribute to mitigation climate change. We are developing sustainable solutions for water management and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We are working on food supply, finding resource efficient, both socially, economically, and environmentally, solutions for increasing global food production through initiatives such as digitalization and artificial intelligence. We work with sustainable cities to make plans for how to deal with the effects of climate change, such as extreme weather events and rising sea levels, and also the development of green infrastructures to help contribute to the health and well-being of humans. The bio-based economy, to move from a fossil-based to bio-based economy, that requires new solutions and trade-offs like should we cultivate food, animal feed, fiber, or energy crops, and who should decide this? We work on those kind of issues. We work with global health, for example, to reduce the risk of the spread of zoonoses and diseases by insects and cut down on the use of antibiotics in animal husbandry, which could help slow down the development of resistance to antibiotics in humans too. And we work with biodiversity and ecosystems Environmental monitoring provides the information necessary for the management and recreation of ecosystems, both in land and in oceans. And I'm going to give you a few examples of what we are actually doing to make the world a better place, because this is something we actually do, not something we say that we do. We have a central unit called SLU Global that supports research and development projects in collaboration with scientists and universities in low-income countries. We are a member of the Global Challenges University Alliance, where SLU collaborates with agriculture universities around the world on the sustainability goals in Agenda 2030. For example, on issues as food supply, bioenergy, sustainable urban development, and the climate. There are innovations from SLU based on information and expertise from SLU that makes a huge difference to society. We have SLU's environmental monitoring and assessment that contributes by providing data and analysis on which to base decisions on environmental issues, both nationally and internationally. And the whole of SLU is environmentally certified, and we aim to becoming climate neutral by 2027. And that's quite soon, so we're moving in the right direction. Now for our educational program. Let me first say that we have students from SLU that are very sought after on the labor market. Most of them get jobs straight after graduating. And that's something to remember, I think, in your choice of programs in Sweden. We have some 40 degree programs at SLU. Most of them are master's program, quite popular international master's program. And in 2021, we will start our very first international bachelor's program, which is now open for application, called Forest and Landscape Management, which kind of combines forestry with landscape architecture. And we had about 3,900 students in 2019, so we're quite a small university, but we are working on doubling the amount of students by 2027, because we and the Swedish government also supports this, believe that there will be a need for more people with SLU skills in the future. The world needs more SLU students, and I think we need some from Indonesia as well. We have the research area. We have expertise in natural sciences, but also in social sciences and the humanities. And we like to work with a transdisciplinary approach. We combine strong curiosity-driven basic research with more specific studies aiming at solving concrete problems, both locally and globally. And some examples of what we do when it comes to socially beneficial research is the artificial spider silk, which have potential for use in medical applications. We have the climate-friendly rice that emits the minimum amount of the greenhouse gas methane during cultivation. We have chemical signals between animals, plants, and microbes used to control pest insects in areas such as apple orchards. And we have the manual for urban desertification. And if you're interested in reading more about this, there is lots of information on our webpage, of course, of our ongoing research. And here we go with some numbers for you. As I said, about 3,900 students and 40 degree programs. We have about 250 professors and 550 doctoral students, and about 3,000 full-time employees. So if you do the math, you can see with 3,000 full-time employees and 3,900 students, there is a lot of teacher time for every student. And that's one thing that's kind of good to remember in your choice of university. And I'm going to finish my presentation there. And of course, you are welcome to ask me all kinds of questions. And I will also be available in written chats on WhatsApp after this session. And before I let you ask your questions, I would like to summarize what I said by showing you a movie, if that's okay with the moderator.
Yes, that's totally okay.
Very good. Let's see then. I'm going to share my sound with you as well.
You're in a place where new thoughts are born and new knowledge is created.
Here, we ask the big questions about animals, nature, and life.
You're an important part of SLU.
And together, we contribute to something much bigger and absolutely vital. Our planet is fantastic. For thousands of years, humans have evolved in tandem with the natural environment and learned to make use of the resources and sustenance that the planet supplies.
Today, we are facing completely new challenges. Climate change that will lead to global warming and rising sea levels is becoming increasingly apparent. Together, we must create the best conditions for a sustainable future.
SLU is a world-class international university focusing on the very foundations of our existence: clean water, a living landscape, sustainable food production, high standards of animal welfare, and sustainable cities.
We bring together people who have different perspectives, but they all have one and the same goal: to create the best conditions for every living thing on our planet.
In order to succeed, we must have the courage to question and challenge. We must seek out new paths and be open to new solutions.
By seeing things nobody has seen before and thinking of ideas nobody has thought of before, we are contributing to real change.
Through education, research, and environmental assessment, we are creating the right conditions for a sustainable, thriving, and better world.
There we go.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Now we are down to our Q&A session. So if our watchers on YouTube have any questions, they can type them down on our YouTube's comment section and I'll read them. Okay, the first question would be, what are the documents needed for the application process?
You just need to prove that you have the relevant bachelor degree, of course, your transcripts, and the proof of the English language requirements. So you don't need to have a personal letter of intent or something like that for applying to us. The language and the bachelor degree. If you're not applying for the bachelor program, of course, then there are some special requirements. But if someone have questions about that, we'll take it personally, I think.
How about the English proficiency level? Can you tell us a rough band for the score?
Sorry, I lost your sound there.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the English proficiency, like the standard band for the university?
Yes, all of our programs require a level of what we call English 6, which means you have to do the TOEFL or IELTS, but you can also prove your English skills by your previous studies, if you have studied an English bachelor degree, for example, or can prove in any other way that you have the relevant English skills that ends up at the level of English 6.
Okay, thank you. Next question. There's a scholarship, right?
There are scholarships. SLU has a small number of scholarships covering tuition fees only. And if you apply to SLU before January 15th, the deadline in the first application round, you will get more information from us on how to apply. And if you apply for those, you will need a personal letter, of course. But there are also the Study in Sweden scholarships, which I imagine you have talked about in this room earlier today, which cover both tuition fees and living expenses. And they are usually open for applications in the beginning of February sometime. I don't know if they have set the dates actually yet, but sometime during that period.
Okay.
So right now, I think it's good to start writing those letters if you want to apply for a scholarship. But I also want to mention that SLU is listed on the LPDP list for Agriculture and Forestry, which I know is a big thing in Indonesia. So it's a good opportunity. And I know I met with several students in Jakarta last year that actually are here in Uppsala right now studying with the help from LPDP. So that's That's really a great opportunity that you have in Indonesia.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for the answer. How about the application process for the scholarship? Should we attach another letter, like a letter of reference from our previous lecturers or from the employer, stuff like that?
Not for the SLU scholarship. For that, you only need a personal letter, but you will need one if you're applying for the Study in Sweden scholarships. You will need some kind of letter of reference.
Hey, I would like to know about the culture there. Can you tell us more about the learning culture in SLU?
Yeah, I mentioned a little about that in my presentation about the curiosity-driven approach, and that goes for all Swedish universities. We are big fans of critical thinking. We expect students to question what they believe and what they learn. We want students to, of course, respect their professors, but we also want them to question. There's a lot of discussions, a lot of debate in the classroom. And I know that lots of international students are quite used to this. You're not supposed to just sit there and listen and learn. You're supposed to take part of it. And we're very familiar. Most of us call our professors and other teachers by their first name and so on. So it's very informal. So we expect you to get in there and be a part of the class.
Okay, thank you. How's the changes by the pandemic? Do you still held the classes offline, or some of them are now online, or it's fully online?
This autumn it's been a kind of a mixture. The universities were closed during the springtime for some months and only online. But during the autumn there have been a mix with online education and campus education. And we have prioritized first-year students, which includes many international students, of course, on campus for them to be able to get some social contacts. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen this spring, but it seems like with vaccines and everything, we hope everything will go in the right direction and that things will be a little bit more normal next autumn when all of you guys are coming here.
Okay, finger crossed. Yeah, it will be getting better. So once we move there, can you tell us roughly the average living cost?
Living costs.
Yes.
Swedish students to Sweden are supposed to have about 8,500 Swedish crowns, which is about 850 euros, I think, for living expenses. Most of that is for accommodation, of course. But I think with 8,500 Swedish kronas, you will get on quite good as a Swedish student. And I know many students also ask of opportunities for part-time jobs in Sweden. And I'm going to be frank and say that there isn't very many part-time jobs in Sweden, and there's a lot of competition about them. So you don't expect to get a job and live with those money. You have to be able to get by without a job. But with that said, if you do get a job, you can do it without knowing Swedish in many cases, because Swedes are quite good at English. And almost everybody from the about 8-year-olds to the very old ones knows English quite well.
Okay, that's a relief. Okay. Next, about challenges for international students. You mentioned that they speak English fluently. It's so easy to go anywhere and ask people. How about the challenges that international students get? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Challenges for international
Yes.
students. I think most of them, well, I can't say that there's one challenge like everybody talks about. I think many people from the part of the world where you are at are a little worried about the weather, about how much they're going to freeze, about the polar bears on the streets and that kind of stuff. And let me just clarify, there's no polar bears on the streets. And the winter isn't really that bad. is quite different depending where in Sweden you're at. In southern Sweden, they rarely get snow on the winter. In northern Sweden, they absolutely get snow in the winter. And I'm in Uppsala in the middle of Sweden. Well, it differs between winters. It's dark right now. On the other hand, it's totally bright during the summer. The sun is up almost all day. In northern Sweden, it's actually up all day because they have the midnight sun far up in the north. And it's also, but these dark times are quite nice too. In northern Sweden, you can chase the northern lights right now. And you can also, sometimes you can actually see it here from Uppsala as well. But yeah. And I think, well, as we talked about, this is a special autumn with the pandemic and everything. So I'm thinking that the social context is quite a challenge for many people right now to be able to find some way to actually hang out. But I think the students I have contact with, they manage it quite well, actually. I'm impressed by them. People find ways. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next question. Would it be possible to take a master degree that's not really correlated with the undergraduate degree?
Sorry, that's not really correlated with?
To the previous bachelor degree?
It depends, I would say, what your previous degree was. Some of our programs are transdisciplinary and you can apply to them with different kinds of backgrounds. For example, the environmental communication program, you can have a background in natural sciences, in social sciences, or many other things. But for some programs, of course, you have to have some specific requirements. If you're going to study animal medicine, well, you need a bachelor degree in that kind of area. So I would say it depends.
Okay. That's really great. Yeah, I would like to know more about SLU. Can you tell us some fun facts about SLU?
Something else about SLU?
Yes.
Sorry, your sound is disappearing sometimes.
Okay.
I think I told you quite a lot about SLU, but I'm thinking I'm going to tell you a little more about our student life. All our students, we provide accommodation for international students. We guarantee accommodation for the first year. Okay, you still have to pay the rent, of course, but we will make sure you have a room. Most often in a dormitory, where you get your own room with your own toilet and shower most of the time, but you share the kitchen with the other people in the dormitory, usually about 8 to 12 people. And these campuses are spread out through a town. It looks a little different. As I said, we are on 3 big campuses on different places in Sweden, so it looks a little different. But you will always be close to students, and all of these 3 towns are student towns with other big universities as well, so you will mingle a little bit with the other universities too. We have student unions, of course, that you can be member of, that organize activities, parties, pubs, theater, sports, all kinds of things. And where I'm at in Uppsala, there's also student nations that organize a lot of activities. They are connected to Uppsala University, but SLU students are also welcome to be members of them. So this is, I would say that Uppsala is the #1 student town in Sweden, actually. It's about 40,000 students here, and the town has about 200,000 inhabitants.
Okay. How about Indonesian students' life there? Can you tell us more about that?
The Indonesian students, well, we don't have that many, but I have one of my uni buddies, my student ambassadors are Indonesian. She's called Caroline, and she's told me a lot of her experiences of coming here. And as I talked about, the weather was probably the most striking for her when she got here. But she's been involved in many parts, many activities since she came here. Right now, she's actually in Italy because she's doing 2 months in Italy during her education in Sweden. So she's really grasping the opportunities here. And you can also chat with this student ambassador, including her, on the Unibody system. And you can find the link to that on our webpage. So that's a good way if you want to chat with our students.
Okay. Is there any big community of Indonesian students?
I wouldn't say it's a big community, but a small but strong one. And I imagine that the SLU students from Indonesia also are connected to students at Uppsala University from Indonesia. But I would say that the international students as a group with different students from different parts of the world is a very strong community as a group, because they have a lot of activities together, and all of our master programs are international. Almost all of our master programs are in English, so it tends to get quite international.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that many of our watchers are interested now. Before we end this, can you tell us where to go, like the website or the alumni profile that we can go so we can get more information about SLU?
Yes, of course, you can visit our website. The links are, of course, on the fair page for SLU, but it's on the www.slu.se, and you will choose the English version of the page, most likely, I think. You're totally welcome to watch it in Swedish as well, but yeah. And as I said, join the Unibody. The international student ambassadors are posting blogs there as well. If you don't feel like chatting with anyone right now, you can go in there and read their blogs and get a grasp of what they're doing and how life is here. And you can also chat with me, as I said, after the fair. I will be online on WhatsApp. And of course, you can also email me later on if you would like to. I also have a profile on Unibody, so you can chat with me as well during that channel.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ellen. I guess that's a wrap. If you are still interested and want to ask more information about SLU will be on our virtual fair today and tomorrow. You'll be able to consult and get any further questions. Kindly access event.ehef.id and all the information will be there. Okay, I would like to say thank you, Aline, for the presentation. I hope that we can meet again next year.
I hope so too. I really miss you. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. And best of luck to everybody supplying. And Sweden is a great country, so I hope you will come here too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.